him while he was walking up the steps because it was so painful. And he read your book. And if any of you are having troubles with walking, you really need to read this book, because even if you are in pain, you're going to walk when you read Jo's book. So over to you, Jo. Welcome, and thank you for your book and all this wonderful, great work that you're doing. And also, she's the spokesperson for a foot company. So if any of you are looking for some great footwear, it's called the Obis Footwear. So over to you.
Thank you. And just my last name is actually spelled pronounced Giese. So yeah, the here's the title of the book, which I love. And so the person you were just talking about, who was having trouble walking and was inspired, I this is not a singular story about people who've read my book. As a fellow journalist, I'm used to people send me a book, like let's say I'm interviewing them. So they'll send me a book and I'll just skim through it so I get the idea of it and then know enough so that I sound smart and clever when I'm interviewing them. But what I found with this book from the very first interview is that the woman interviewing me, I think she was from Philadelphia or somewhere, and she was going to, she had planned that she was just going to read like the first chapter and skim the book. So, she'd be, well enough informed. And she said she started it on a weekend and she could not put it down. She was so inspired. And that's what I am getting across the board. And the reason I wrote the book was it's doing its job because I wrote the book to inspire people when they've been given a grim diagnosis. It can be any kind of diagnosis. It doesn't have to be like mine, where I lost my left Achilles and that physical therapist said, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but you've got to accept that you're going to be compromised for the rest of your life. No, I don't. And furthermore, I don't have to accept what she's saying. And I never spoke to her again. So it's the person who read the book and came away with the idea, well, if Jo can walk after this, then maybe I could walk too. I'll tell you just one brief story that's happened to me a lot recently when people have been talking to me, is they've been calling me a medical miracle. And I was thinking, is that right? Is that hyperbole or is that really correct? So I was in a doctor's office or something totally different with my husband. And I said, oh, by the way, can I just run this by you? Um, and I told him he didn't know anything about my Achilles and not having a left ankle that works. And I told him people are calling me a medical miracle because I can walk now. And he said, let me think about that. He said, yeah, most people without an Achilles would be doing well to walk around their living room. Yeah, I'd say you're a medical outlier, a medical miracle. So, Elizabeth, are you going to ask me more questions or you want me to just continue?
I want you to just continue because this is a talk show, and then we'll do questions at the end because we have other presenters coming after you. But I want you to tell people the story of your life before everything happened, that you were such a great hiker, and then how you hiked again, because that part of the book is what Elton and I absolutely love.
Well, okay, then if we're going to start at the very beginning, then I'm going to show this dress.
Okay.
This is a little pinafore, an organza pinafore, really lacy. And when I grew up and was about 5 years old in Seattle, this is what little 5-year-old girls wore back then. I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure they're not wearing them today, especially to hike. But that's what I would wear when I first started hiking. And we lived in Seattle, right on Lake Washington Boulevard. And I would leave our house, dressed pretty fancy like that, just my everyday clothes. I'd go over to Seward Park, which was like our front yard. And Seward Park was designed by the Olmsted family. They designed Central Park in New York City, one of the most gorgeous parks in the world. Although when I was 5 years old, I didn't know who had designed this park. And I'd take a couple pumps on the swing, and then I'd go up into the old growth forest that was there in the middle of the peninsula. And it had a soft bark path and beautiful evergreen trees, 2, 3 stories high on both sides of this path. And I'd wander up there by myself and then come back down and go home. And so a retired cop lived next door to us. And he said to my mom, "You might consider that she shouldn't do that alone by herself." And my mom said, being the original non-helicopter parent, she said, "Well, she likes it." And I did. The other thing my parents did for me when I was about the same age in Seattle, north of Seattle is one of the great, beautiful waterfalls of the world, Snoqualmie Falls. And what is so cool about it is it just characterizes what you expect when you see a waterfall. This top where the water's thundering down and it makes that huge, wonderful sound, and there's mist in the air and you're vibrating with it. And on the spot, about 5 or 6 years old, I became a waterfall junkie. Really, it's just in my DNA. I've been attracted to waterfalls all over the world, which I could tell you about some of those. But what is so cool is like in the last year or so, I came across the scientific evidence about why we feel so good near a waterfall. The phrase waterfall effect apparently has been in existence for 100 years, but I never knew about it until I stumbled on it just recently. And what it is, it's the benefit of being near waterfalls. And it is that the air near a waterfall, that it turns out that the negative air ions are the positive ones, ironically. And the air near a waterfall has 100,000 negative air ions per cubic centimeter. 100,000. In your office where you are right now, or where I am, maybe we're lucky if we have 100. So no wonder when we're near a waterfall, we feel so refreshed and invigorated. There's a reason for it. One of the best hikes I've ever done in my entire life, it was to 2 waterfalls, and it was in New Zealand. And lots of parts of New Zealand are not accessible except by air. And my husband had selected to go to New Zealand to go fly fishing. He'd heard about it from all of his angler pals in Montana. And I thought, well, if he's going to use the helicopter to go fly fishing, couldn't the helicopter take me somewhere cool and remote to go hiking? And they weren't very happy about my request because they're a lodge really built around fly fishing and boating and guys out there, And but they did find me a guide, and she was also turned out to be a mountain climber. And the helicopter came for us, picked us up at our lodge. It was a little Robbie 44, which when you're sitting in it, it's like you're just sitting in this glass cube and you can look out on all sides. And we're like just, going right through this mountain range. And oh, so exciting, so wonderful. And so we end up hiking in this area where that's totally remote because we got there by helicopter. There's nobody else around. From the air, it looked like beautiful golden grasses blowing in the wind. And after we got down there, it was a marshland, and our boots were sinking in like up beyond our ankles. But that was okay because that was part of the journey. The first waterfall there was narrow at the top, but thundered down. It was the second one that we had to walk like 4 hours to get to. That was so wonderful. And the person I hiked with even brought along really great snacks. But I've hiked to waterfalls in Iceland. Iceland, gosh, if you're a waterfall junkie like me, Iceland is a fabulous place to go. I mean, you just kind of blink your eye and there's another waterfall. One of our grandsons, who we take on these adventures with us, I think he got tired of seeing all the waterfalls. I am never tired of them. Also, if you're a waterfall junkie like I am, you have to see the biggest waterfall in the world, right? There's one on the tippy top between Argentina and Brazil, right there where they come together. And that waterfall is called Iguazu. And the top of it is the longest waterfall in the world. It's 1 mile across the top. And I just had to go there. And that was a fabulous experience. And it has since really been Facebook and so discovered. But since we were staying in the middle of the jungle there in a hotel, we were able to have access to that waterfall before they let the public in. Once they let the public in at 9 or 9:30 on these big yellow school buses, you couldn't even see the waterfall. But prior to that, what you could see and you could hear, I mean, it was so rude and really ugly, is everybody just holding up their phone, taking their picture in front of themselves in front of the waterfall. So you could barely see the waterfall and you could barely hear it. You could hear all the clicking of people taking their photos. But when we got there first thing in the morning, and you could see Iguazu with a sun rise behind it, almost like a rainbow. It could not have been better. Then, of course, I have also hiked to frozen waterfalls. One winter, it had snowed in Montana, unlike this winter where we got no snow. And there was ice everywhere. And that time we put on some yak tracks underneath our hiking boots. Yak tracks are like crampons. And because you start down this kind of, well, not kind of, it's really a vertiginous path. It's very steep. And of course, it was pretty icy. And you've got poles, you've got the crampons. And the big payoff when you get down there is this beautiful wall. At least 100, 150 feet across, maybe probably more. And in spring and summer, of course, it's just beautiful, like turquoise water falling down. Then that winter day, actually it was January 1st, the first day of winter that year, of January, the whole wall was turquoise ice. I mean, it was just amazing. I could have stood there and just looked at it. I mean, like, how gorgeous is that? That's one of my favorites. That's on the way to Big Sky. And my friend who was going with me, she said, I knew you could go to waterfalls in summer, but I never knew you could do it like this. And I mean, you have to be up for it. It's steep and it's icy, but I loved it. I also have hiked to waterfalls in Bhutan, in Vietnam. Vietnam has some gorgeous waterfalls. Some of my very favorite waterfalls in the whole world are just, I'm in Southern California, are just north of us here. You take Highway 1 up the coast to Big Sur, and they have a couple waterfalls. And the other thing that's so cool about those, for people who aren't really that much into hiking or aren't that, for whatever reason, like your friend can't walk that much now, the waterfalls you can almost see from the road. I mean, you really should park your car and get out and take a full-on look at them. But they're very accessible and they're fabulous. Um, when I was going through my situation, which I'll tell you about, one person said to me at a certain stage, so do you consider yourself an ex-walker, an ex-hiker? And I went, no, never, never, not on your life, never. So what happened to me, uh, having had this really exuberant and lucky enough to have a really exuberant, healthy outdoor life, hiking all over the world, and most of the time to waterfalls. I was at home here in Southern California, the end of November, 2018. I was upstairs in my office here, and the doorbell rings. It's a friend I was expecting, and it's raining. It never rains in Southern California in November. And of course, now climate change, everything changes. But um, so I thought, well, I don't want her to get wet out there. So I left my desk, I ran down the steps, and I missed the bottom two stairs. And I went flying horizontally. I landed flat out on the front of my body. Now, my husband heard the crash and probably my scream, and he came running, and I said, "Let Lana in. She's getting wet out there." So he gets Lana. He's on one side, Lana's on the other. They get me up from the floor. They get me to urgent care and right before it closes. And it's a miserable night. It's first of all, it's dark and it's rainy. It's not like what you think of as Southern California. And I'm on crutches now that I crutch into urgent care. And the doctor there, when she sees the little x-ray they just took, um, she goes, she turns all white and she goes, I hate to tell you this, but you have a total rupture in your left Achilles and you're going to need surgery. And I think, oh, that's fine. I had no an orthopedist I can call. He'd done a little surgery once on one of my knees before. And I call him right there from urgent care. I had his cell number. And he says, sure, come in tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So my husband gets a wheelchair from urgent care. They loan it to him. He wheels me into urgent care the next morning. And this doctor who had done just a little tweaking on my knee at one point says, I can do this. I did, and he recognizes I have a total tear in the left Achilles. And he says, I can do this. I did Achilles repair 20, 30 years ago. Now, all of you, if some doctor in front of you says, I can fix this for you. I used to fix this 20, 30 years ago, whatever it is that they're about to fix. You are smart enough and calm enough that you would probably say, you know what, Fred, thank you very much. But we're going to do a little more research now and see who is doing Achilles repair 20, 30 minutes ago. But we didn't do that. That's our big first mistake in this journey because here's someone in front of us. He tweaked me a little bit before on my knee. And we thought, this will be fine. And well, that was our first big mistake. He did the surgery. The area around where he did the surgery down in the ankle area, when they 12, 14 days later, when they took all the bandages off, it had become, he's in the room when they're taking the bandages off, and he goes, "Wait, that's necrotic." And I'm not even sure I knew what the word necrotic meant then, or necrosis, but it means dead. And you do not want to have any place or part on your body that is dead. And because it could, be turn into sepsis and it could spread. It's really serious. And so he refers me to some trauma wound surgeons, and just to, first of all, to start to fix the necrosis where the wound is. Now we're not even talking about the Achilles. And so about 3, 4 surgeries later, because we're talking about the necrosis now, the trauma wound surgeon I'd gotten to at this point, he says, "Okay, we're going to do a 2-in-1 surgery here." He said he's going to fix the infection, and the orthopedic surgeon will be in there to reattach the Achilles. They're going to do both at the same time. And the surgery will probably take 3 to 4 hours, but they're both very upbeat about this. Well, about an hour later, I'm in the recovery room, and the trauma wound surgeon is there. And he said, we could not reattach the Achilles. It had died. A dead Achilles? And he said, "You want to see the picture?" So the strongest tendon in our body, the one that goes down in your ankle, up your calf, the strongest tendon, in my case, had curled in on itself, and it was like a little fetal mess in this mass of slime. And there was no way to reattach it. It had died. And so then I think, well, now what do we do? And so at a certain point in this journey, the doctor who had really botched the surgery sent me an email. He obviously knew that I was not walking. I was using a knee scooter. To make the knee scooter business more fun, because there was nothing fun about it at this stage, I attached this ding-a-ling bell to the scooter. So when I would scoot around, pumping with my right leg and, um, you know, getting the knee scooter to get around, I I would uh, I had no intention of being on that knee. I was on the knee scooter for 144 days and had no intention of being on there, for the rest of my life. And out of the blue, I get this message from the doctor who botched the surgery, and he said, "You might try CORE, the Center of Restorative Exercise." And it's in Northridge. Now, from where I live in Los Angeles, all the way over to Northridge, that's the equivalent of asking someone like to drive to London. It's so bloody far away. And I thought, okay, I'll do it this one time, but that's it. And so when I'm driven over there, it's it's like a gym, but like no other gym you've ever seen before. It's a seriously sobering place. Nobody in there is walking, directly. They might have a wheelchair. They might have one of these stand-up devices that holds them up so they can help them hold them up while they're walking. Everybody is disabled and in a total state of disrepair, trying to get repaired. And Taylor Isaacs, who's the founder and the director of CORE, the Center of Restorative Exercise, he took me into the evaluation room, which had really nice, pretty red walls. Red is my favorite color, makes me feel joyful. And he had two PhDs in sports medicine, but he had never worked with someone without an Achilles. Most of the people he worked with had spinal cord injuries, so they had neurological deficits and they had orthopedic. But mine was all orthopedic. And he, even though he'd never worked with someone without an Achilles, he wanted to take his PhD knowledge and put it to work in my case. He was dedicated to helping me walk again. And 2.5 years. And remember, the first time I went over there to CORE, I I said, okay, I'm going to do it once because this is just too bloody far.
Yeah.
And I went 2 to 3 times a week. When I got stronger, I could go 3 times a week. And I went there for 2.5 years. And I was able to walk again. Now, I wasn't walking like, the person I used to be walking with, like. I was walking much slower. And I, um, I said to Taylor at a certain point, I was walking out in front of the house here, and I said to him, everybody's just whizzing past me. I'm walking like half the speed I used to walk at. And Taylor said, to compare is to despair, Joe. Drop it. So I used to walk, especially when I was in Montana, but here too in the Santa Monica Mountains. I would hike up, I'd be with the front of the group hiking up the trails, setting the pace. And I went on a recent sunrise hike. And I realized when I showed up for the hike, it was 7 a.m. in the morning. It's Montana in summer. It was 39 degrees. They had these big pots of fire going. And I realized, all the hiking I've done all these years, I've never done a sunrise hike. This is cool. So we started off on the trail. There were about 30 people who had shown up. I was stunned that that many people could, but it is Montana. These are outdoorsy crowd of people.
So, Joe, I'm going to interrupt you for just a few minutes because there's a lot of people waiting to speak. But I love the story, and you need to get her book so that you can read more about the book. You Will Never Walk Alone. You'll Never Walk Alone. And we'll make sure that the links are available to you. And let's get Joe back to do part two. So, Joe, if you just want to wrap up, and then we'll bring you back because you are such a great storyteller, isn't she? So descriptive. I could just, like the turquoise waterfall, I could just picture everything that you've been saying. So this is amazing. So give us a quick wrap up about the book, and then I'll bring you back for part two.
Well, one of the most important parts of the book that we haven't talked about yet is the importance of friends in this journey. And that's why we selected this title for the book. The book original title was Keep Chasing Waterfalls. But You'll Never Walk Alone is really what it's about. Is about all the friends and the different doctors that were helpful. They are the reason I am walking today. You cannot do a journey like this by yourself. So don't even think about it. And I'm just grateful I am where I am. I recently I was out walking on our street here, and one of the neighbors said, "You're limping," and I just he didn't know my story, and I just went, limping. I'm still limping. But so it's different how it used to be. And I hike now, I walk now with a group called the Walkie Talkies because we walk slow enough so we can walk and talk at the same time, where the idea is not just to race up the mountain. So an accident like this can change your life, but it doesn't have to be all negative. and joyless. You can make the most of it and create a new group, the walkie-talkies.
Yeah. So there you have it. I love it. I just love every time you come on board, and we'll have questions in a minute. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to break everybody into a breakout room so each of you get to meet someone new. And I want you to share a walking story. Just introduce your businesses, introduce what you do. And then I'm going to bring you all back to listen to Ken, who's a great listener. And actually, I'll keep Ken with me because I want to just talk about the next session. And then we're going to go into the game Get Nine. So what we'll do is we'll do a quick Q&A when everybody comes back, and then we'll get into Get Nine. And we have a lot of academics here who want to talk about mathematics, and so each of you will get a chance to introduce what you all are doing. Such amazing work with math literacy as we celebrate April as the Financial Literacy Month. All right, so I'm going to break you all into groups real quick, and then let me see, where's the rooms? As usual, when you're trying to find something, where is my break? Oh, here we go. So I'm going to let the computer do it so that I don't have to think about who's going where. And we're going to do 2 rooms. And Ken, you can stay with me. All right. Thank you. All right. So just join your groups when you see. Do you see your names? Great. Okay. Oh, everybody's joined the group. Okay. So Bill, you're with me. All right. JC, you've not joined. So introduce yourself. Can I see your video, JC? Hello? I can't see you. JC, can you turn your voice on? No. All right. Never mind. Okay. Who's JC? Can you talk? All right.
Hi, Elizabeth. Apologies. I got the note from you and I thought it was to speak with you one on one. No worries. You're on mute.
Joe and Donna Ford just yesterday confirmed that they were coming to speak, and because they're both
Hey,
sponsors,
it's a sign of success. I'm just
yeah,
sorry that
I
everyone doesn't get the full amount to speak.
I just couldn't bring everybody to speak, so I wanted to personally apologize because
And
what
James was so apologetic. He just
I
could not.
yeah, I put programs together, and then people just butt in, and then they want to talk for the longest periods of time, so it messes the
We need a
program.
taxi meter. So as people talk, it's the dollars keep spiraling.
Yeah. So those two just came in, so so anyway, we'll bring you in now. Yeah. Right. So did you guys have fun meeting someone?
Yes.
Hey. Um, so what I'm going to do at the end of the day, because we're doing 20 speakers today, is I will make sure that everyone gets everyone's websites. Because sometimes people don't want to be contacted. So everybody's website has a contact page, so you can go on the contact page and make a connection if somebody inspired you, and try to buy a book or a product to just support one another. But then I also want you to do another step, which is write a review. So I want you to go and on Facebook, LinkedIn, just connect with people and write a review. So reviews are the most important thing, because as AI will start to clone all of us, because if you've already had duplicates on Facebook and everything, you're going to see a lot more, because we're going to multiply like really rapidly. And the only way you can really find out if somebody's real is by reading a review. And then you'll see real people writing reviews for people. So reviews are getting to be more and more important. And no, we're not talking about just one and two reviews. We're talking about 20, 30, 40, 100 reviews. So if everyone you met today, and I'll make sure that everybody gets everyone's websites, that you can connect and write a review, that would be terrific. And I'm starting these smaller groups where we're going to be trying to empower one another about sales. So we'll be checking in, and today everybody's going to post a story on Facebook. Everybody's going. So if you are one of those that needs, hand holding along the way, and you want to get aggressive on sales, then but you would have to join one of the business opportunities, because they have tools that I wouldn't have. So now, very quickly, Regina is brand new to the group, so welcome, Regina. I'm going to let Ken do a quick 5-minute intro, and Regina quickly introduce. We get to see Chip. Amazing. And then we'll get Chip, and then we'll get into game 9, and Chris and Renita can also. So why don't we just everybody get 5 minutes, introduce yourselves, and put your websites in the chat, and then we'll settle down. And those of you who have to leave, we'll settle down and play game 9, because I'd rather we're relaxed when we're playing game 9 than worrying that we never got a chance to speak. So, for those of you who've come here for the first time, I will record each of you, so each of you get your own video segments. And then you can share those videos. They're shareable links. You can share them wherever you have Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere. Also, make sure you subscribe to our channel, because then you'll get to see real time, when I'm sharing as well. Now, I keep saying this, and I promise you, next month, I'm going to work hard to understand how to do live streaming. The only reason why we do pre-record and then we share is my own personal fear of live streaming. So because I want to make sure I know how to do it correctly. I have bought the software. I paid for it. I'm already, all systems go. So it's just I could have done it today. Just hit the button and we could be live streaming. But I want to make sure that we have all the protections and controls, and I want to know what I'm doing, and when it goes to, a lot of people, I want to make sure I know what I'm doing. So that is the only hesitation, that we haven't been live streaming. But I promise you, May That's giving me enough time to work on it, and I will work on it and get it to you. Another thing that Jackie and I are going to do because of Get Nine is give you each a badge. So I'm going to sit with Jackie sometime. We'll find time in our busy time because we've already in April, so we've got 4 months. So we'll go and do roll call of everybody who came on the Zoom and make sure everybody starts getting their badges. So the way the badges work is every time you appear on the show, you get a badge. And we will count all the badges at the end of the year to make you the winner of Brightside Empowerers Award. So Bill has been a Brightside Empower Award winner as well as Jackie. So the advantage of being an award winner is, again, on your Facebook, on your LinkedIn, when you say you're an award recipient, other people are going to give you awards. So it's important that you know that you're getting badges, you're getting recognition. These are what, and Jo is a journalist, she can tell you, these are what we call newsworthy articles. Because if you don't have any news, then you can't do any, you can't tell people about your business. So you need these badges, you need awards, you need recognition, you need videos that you appeared on podcasts. These kind of things make you newsworthy. So you want to get more newsworthy. So every time you appear on the show, these are some of the advantages that you get for sitting in the waiting room and listening to other people. There are some advantages of being on today. Another advantage is we're giving away prizes. So we're giving away Bill Pickney's wonderful book, A Tale of Two Climates. I don't know if you can see it, but I can turn my screen off. We're also giving away some mushroom coffee, which is just amazing for those of you who want to quit coffee and still get the bump that coffee gives you, and more health benefits than you can imagine. And then we're also giving away a free consultation for those of you who want to go to Turkey for a dental implant for a fraction of what it would cost you to do it in the United States. So if you want to do cosmetic surgery, you want to get your hip replaced, you want to do some surgery that your insurance won't cover, make sure you talk to your doctor. And like Jo said, make sure you do your research. Don't just take my word for it. It's a sponsor. Somebody sponsored us for the prize. And next week, all of you will be entered to get $1,000 towards your surgery. So if somebody's going to win that $1,000. So lots of prizes are coming up. I'm entering everybody to win, and then we'll do a drawing tonight. If you can come back at 6 p.m., we will be doing our authors at 6 to 8, and then we'll be doing a big, massive networking event with Robert Butwin, who is the master networker and AI. So we're going to be talking all about AI. And so if you all are interested in getting into AI, trying all AI tools for your business, advancing, come back. It's worth your time. All right. So without further ado, let's start with Regina, and then we'll go with Chip and Grace, and then we'll play Get Nine. And if anyone has any questions. All right. So I'm going to put her first. She's a newcomer. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi, everyone.